All right, ladies and fellas, so welcome back. So today I think we're gonna start to tear down this engine. So I got the engine back out. Transmission is pretty much done for the two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive conversion. Got the transmission sitting right here, ready to go. I just got to put the transfer case back on. That should be here in like a day or two. So I think what I want to do is start to pull everything apart. I want to pull the valley cover off. I did pull the knock sensors out already. And look how much oil is inside both of these knock sensor holes. So the issue with the cracked piston, I had a lot of crankcase pressure. It was pushing oil out. But what was strange, you can kind of see the oil line on here. There's like a bunch of oil. It's like mostly dry up here, but there was a bunch of oil sitting here. And a lot of it was like pouring down the back of the block and the transmission. You can see the transmission is actually like pretty much covered. There was a lot of oil coming out. So what I want to do is just look at this gasket here, make sure this thing is okay and it wasn't pushing out there. But I'm kind of thinking that a lot of it was just pushing out of the knock sensor seals, and because there was definitely, if you saw that in the previous video, that there was a lot of oil on the bottom side of the intake underneath here. So I'm thinking that it was a lot of pressure and there was some kind of, it was pushing vapor out of this hole and just kind of accumulating and pouring down. But there's definitely a lot of actual just oil sitting inside the holes. So I'm gonna pull that thing off and we'll check it out. Alrighty, so grab a 10. Ooh, I can smell it already. It's a very distinct smell when you start to crack an engine open. If you haven't done it, I would assume a lot of guys watching that right now have probably done it before, but it's just a very distinct smell when you actually get into the inside of it. So let's work on getting this thing off. And I really wonder if it was just, that was path of least resistance, so it wanted to push a bunch of vapor out there. I mean, even though the valve covers are vented. Let's see. Oh, there's a little pry bar. Get this thing up. Because it's connected, it's supposed to seal around there's a little gasket on the bottom there. Guess they don't really seem too bad. That one's a little cracked, but I don't know. Hard to say if that's really it. But I guess we'll just keep going and start to pull some stuff apart. Everything looks pretty good. Nothing's cracked or broken or messed up, so I'll probably reuse this. I'm really just kind of looking for anything that's painfully obvious that would have caused excessive oil leakage. It looks like it was very wet underneath here. So I'm guessing, like I said, just probably crankcase pressure and pushing oil out everywhere. It was tight, so we'll keep going. You can see how much oil is just kind of dripping off of here. This is all sitting on top of the seal. So there's definitely a lot of oil in there, and you can kind of see, you can hear my finger catching on it, that there's definitely some cracks and a lot of weird stuff going around here. You can see all the cracks in it. I don't think those are all the way through. There's some spots on this seal that are definitely missing and kind of cracked. So maybe not be an issue during a normal situation, but with all the extra pressure, it probably was pushing some oil vapor out and just accumulating over time as it was running, and not really seeing it until it started to really accumulate inside here and actually push out the back. So I'm guessing that's what it was, but we'll keep going because we gotta put some new pistons in. All right, so let's get to the good news, boys. So the new pistons. Some of you guys are gonna be very disappointed in this, but some of you guys are gonna be very happy about this. So we'll see where this goes, but I'm happy about it. Ended up finding somebody, a subscriber, was like, hey bro, I got what you need. So I said, okay, so we got some new pistons. Some new pistons. So, show you guys what I'm gonna do. Like I said, some of you guys are gonna hate me, some of you are gonna love me, but we're gonna do some stock Gen 4 rods. So these are the fly cut 6 liter Gen 4 rods, and this is what I'm gonna go with. This is what I'm gonna try. So these are the same pistons that I had in there before, and the same rods that I had in before when I actually bent 4 of these before, but I think it was a completely unrelated issue. I think that was when I bumped my radiator cap off, so I think there was some extra heat going on and contributed to some issues. So I'm gonna give these a second chance, basically, because I think that there was like a known issue. Something was wrong at the time. So I'm gonna try the Gen 4 rods again with the fly cut. It's the exact same thing that I had before. So the story on this, I was installing my blow-off valve. For those of you that are new and missed that part, I was installing my blow-off valve because I originally built it without one and then decided to add one. So installing the blow-off valve, and I bumped the radiator cap. So that was confirmed by the video that I made. And I'm just gonna kind of go through these things and make sure that these aren't all fucking messed up. This one ring is tight. It's probably just dirty. Let's hope it's just dirty. Okay, now it spins. So I know I bumped my radiator cap, and then I went out for a pull, and I was already on that tune for a while, and went to do a pull, and I did a little pull from like 50 to 80 or like 55 to 80, something like that. It was like barely got into it at all, and heard metal clanging, and it just wasn't good. So that's when I found out that I bent the whole driver's side. So that was the first time I bent the whole driver's side. Passenger side is good. I still have 4 of these sitting on the shelf, and I bent 4 of the rods and broke 2 of the pistons, so number 5 and number 7. But what was odd about it when I broke them is they broke like in the identical spot. One was a little bit bigger, but it broke like right on the fly cut section, and came up and it broke like the exact same way. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. The reason that I don't think it was tune related is because that happened on like 10 or 11 pounds. And I ended up switching back to Gen 3 rods, and I ended up going to like 18 pounds later on. But I did adjust a couple things in the tune. I changed the timing table and ramped the timing in a little bit later in the RPM range. So I kind of want to give these another chance. I feel like I didn't really get a good run out of the first set that I had. So I want to try that again. And this block is cracked, so I didn't really feel like pulling, after I thought about it more, I didn't really feel like pulling the 5.3 out of there and then putting it in the truck and then putting the 6 liter in the car when it already has a cracked block. It just didn't really make sense in my head. So let me show you the bad ones. So I do have 4 bad ones. 2 of the tops are good, and the rods are bent. You can barely tell that the rods are bent. In fact, you can't even really see it. But I could tell because when I spun the crank around, the crank was actually hitting the piston. So I know that these were bent. And then the driver's side, I save these things because I just feel like it. So if you look at this one and this one, the top section right here and right here broke in the exact same spot. The only difference is this chip kind of ran down a little bit farther. So kind of interesting, at least in my opinion, that those cracked the exact same way. One was a little bigger. So these things happen at the same time. They cracked and bent the rods. So that's why I feel like I just want to give it another swirl. If I made it as far as I did with the Gen 3 stuff, I feel like I'd probably go a little farther with the Gen 4 in there because these are obviously stronger. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna pull the heads off. Probably do that in the next video because I'm gonna go in and eat and just check everything over, clean everything up. There's a lot of oil on it that I want to get cleaned off. I'll pull the heads off, swap these things in. Then I'm pretty much ready to put the engine back in with the transmission. So I do have to pick up a front drive shaft. So that'll be some trickery, but I kind of want to get this stuff out of the way and then I can spend some time focusing on how I'm gonna get the 4-wheel drive junk working. So yeah, short video today, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.